elasticity one is that one has like I think 2 different formulas or 3.
Good evening.
4 actually.
Right. So how do you know where we
4
set?
elasticity formulas. It's based on the question that's presented to you.
Okay.
So the most difficult part of this is going to be, okay, understanding what the question is asking for you and then using the appropriate formula.
Okay.
So what you will see certainly in today's homework, and probably at least one question in next week's homework as well, you will get word problems, and almost entirely for this class, the problems are going to be word problems. Are you looking for certain keywords in your word problems? Does your word problem speak to elasticity of demand? Does your word problem say income elasticity of demand? Does your word problem speak about cross-price elasticity of demand? Does your word problem speak about elasticity of supply? Right. So based on what your word problem is telling you, that's going to determine which formula you use. Okay. All right. So I have cycle 4. So I think it's a good time as any to begin. First question is, what did you get for the last 2 questions in your in-class exercise? Let me see if I can bring it up somewhere. You share this one. This is the cross-price elasticity problem. Did anyone attempt it? Decide, or you guys decide, oh, we're going to wait till we get to class and see what shakes out?
Yes, I attempted it.
And what did you get? For the first one, cross-price elasticity of, this is strawberries to blueberries.
0 point. Negative 0 point. I can't remember what I got. I sent it to you. But
No, you didn't send it to me. It's an in-class thing.
I wanted this right.
Okay, disregard that then.
Okay, but don't you still have it on your machine somewhere? On your device?
Yeah. Yes, I have it. Sorry. Yes, you're right. Let me tell you, I just think I did the part 1 of it. Okay, so I got, I did, you want me to tell you the equation that I did, or just
No,
the answer?
Just the answer. Just the answer for now.
Okay, I got
and then we'll work our way through it and see if you're right.
Negative 0.3318. But the top.
Negative 0. No, I don't want the top of the bottom. I just wanted your final answer.
That's the answer, 0.3318.
Okay, so that means they are what? Complements or substitutes? According to our class notes.
I put it as a substitute.
Okay, so hold on to that answer and let's see when we work it out together, see what happens. Okay, boy, plug and chug. So I can't give you more than one of these in a homework or even an exam because they take a lot of time. All right, so sorry. Okay. So walk me through now. Here I'm plugging and chugging. Cross-price elasticity of strawberries to blueberries. And in class last time, we think we got Q0 and Q1 for strawberries, P0 and P1 for strawberries. Initial quantity and new quantity for blueberries, and initial price and new price for blueberries. Okay, I got that last one spot wrong, but that's okay. Let me fix that as a lowercase b. All right. So then in that case, new quantity for strawberries would be 93. And all quantity for strawberries, or original quantity for strawberries is 130. Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Then we have, let's see, all quantity for strawberries is 130, and new quantity for strawberries
Is 93.
93. All right. And then okay, let's do the price. New price for blueberries is $8.25. I'm just picking up from what we have in that column over to your right. And original price of blueberries was $7.75.
Right.
All right. Then we have original price for blueberries, $7.75.
$7.75 plus $8.25 divided by 2.
And 8.25. All right. So I think I've plugged in everything in its correct place. So therefore, 93 minus 130 give me what? Somebody please.
Negative 37.
Negative 37.
Yeah.
So this top is negative 37. And this bottom one, I have 130 plus 93 divided by 2.
111 and 50 cents.
111.50.
Right.
Let's see. 130 plus 93 gives me 223. 223 divided by 2 is 1 and a half. All right, fine. And on the bottom, 825 minus 775 is that like 50 cents?
Yes, 0.5.
Okay, that's 50 cents. And finally, we have 775 plus 825 divided by 2. That's 16. That's $8.
Yeah. And so you would have
$8.
Right.
Okay. All right. Fine. So therefore, E of X and B. Oh, I don't need that. Hang on.
I need to calculate this.
Don't do it.
0.0.
I thought you already calculated all of this.
No, I didn't do
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't calculate the both of them, but I got it that far. So it's negative 0.3318
So what?
for the top.
Hang on. Let me see if I understand what you do. 37 divided by 111.5.
Right, is negative 0.3318.
So that's about a third. 37 plus 37 is 74. 74 plus 37 is what? 111 and 50 cents. Okay. All right. At least that seems to be in the ballpark. And 0.5 divided by 8 is what? 16?
0.05.
0.0625.
0.0625. I was it's 116. 0.0625. What's after the 5?
I think that was a low
0.
number. Right, something like that, yeah.
No, see? Don't do that, okay? Because then you can complain to me and I understand if it's just a low number. Okay, fine. I'll trust you this one time and one time only. So eventually we got E of S and B. No, I'm still doing the same thing again. Copy, paste, and I delete all of this. All right, and my answer became negative
5.3088. That's what I got.
Start again.
I got negative 5.3088.
-5.0338.
No, but
All right, let me-
0.3088.
Say that again.
I got negative 5.3088.
3088. All right, so let me try. Where's my calculator? My calculator has 0.3318 divided by 0.0625. Okay, so then, what's our conclusion? What kind of products are these? Go back to your notes. A negative cross-price elasticity, sorry, let me share it with you. A negative cross-price elasticity indicates that they are complements. See, a negative E of X and I indicates that as the price of good Y rises, so as the price of blueberries rises, because the Y was the blueberries, so as the price of blueberries goes up, demand for blueberries fall. And if demand for strawberries also fall, then they're complements. So this is saying, in real words, somehow we have linked our decision to buy strawberries and blueberries together. Now, this may be that you are, you're one of those persons who really love your smoothies, and you like your strawberries and your blueberries in your smoothie. And since you can't find blueberries in your price range, because they're too expensive, the price went up, you decide you weren't buying blueberries this week. So if you're not buying blueberries this week, you decide, you know what, I'm not going to make smoothies this week. So if that's the case, why do I need the strawberries? So that's one scenario in which those two products are consumed together and would therefore constitute complementary goods. Okay, so we now know if the prices of blueberries go up, we're not going to buy as many blueberries, but we're also not going to buy as many strawberries either, because we need both. Okay, what about if we went the other way? Should we expect the same result? Let me bring it up again. Where are we? New share. Let's go back to our thing. All right, so can we do the same for cross-price elasticity of blueberries to strawberries now? All right. So I need the same information. Right. If I take that on the previous page, how do I do that? I guess I should copy this. Let me just copy the whole thing. Copy and paste. Oops. Back text type. Okay. Somebody's at my door, but since I have a she. Okay. So where are we? All right. So now we're plugging and chugging for cross-price elasticity of blueberries to strawberries. Okay. So let's start with the new quantity of blueberries, because that's where our B is. And the new quantity of blueberries are 81. And the initial quantity of blueberries is 87. And I need here 87. I need here 81. And now for the prices, the new price of strawberries are $13.75. Thank you. And new price, the original price of strawberries are $9.50. And you do the same, $9.50, and $13.75. All right. 81 minus 87 is -6. That one's easy.
Yeah.
And 87 plus 81 divided by 2. That's 168 divided by 2. That gives me 83. No, 84. You know, you guys have the machine to calculate. Oh, no. Yes, that's right. What's 87 plus 81 divided by 2? Is that 168 divided by 2? And 168 divided by 2 is
127.5.
What are you talking about? Where do you get 127.5 from?
Oh, my bad. Sorry, my bad. Sorry.
I got 84.
Okay.
got-
Don't be scaring me like that. Okay. Then 1375 minus 950. That's what? 425? 425. And on my denominator, I want 950 plus 1375 divided by 2. That's 2325 divided by 2.
11.63.
Yeah, 63.
11, no, 63. What are we going to
11.6250.
Okay. No. Then you say we're not going to round until we get all to the very end. Okay. So we got, oops.
Okay, even if we're
160.
dealing with money, we should round to 4
Yeah.
decimal places. Okay.
Until you get to the very end, don't round to, because these numbers have so many places behind the decimal point. If you round early, it starts affecting every subsequent calculation. And so by the time you get to the end, your answer may be substantially different from what I'm expecting. Yeah, and we don't want to have that conversation. Okay, so then we have -6 divided by 84.
Negative 0.0714.
0.0714.
Yeah.
What's after the 4?
2.
So 0.0714 and 425 divided by 11 is 0.2 something.
0.3656.
0.3656. What's after the 6?
The 6 is
It's-
actually a 5.
It's
And
5,
after the 5
5.
is 9.
It's 9.
Oh, it's
So
5,
6.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine. And then our final answer is negative because our numerator is negative. So what's 0.0714 divided by 0.3656?
Negative 0.1953.
0.1953. Okay. And what's after the 3?
It's 2.9. So she made it a 3.
2.9. Okay, good. Okay. So again, because it's negative, we know these two products are complements. So if we decide that we want buying the strawberries because the price was too high, because remember now, the second subscript, that's the S in this case, is the price. And the first subscript, in this case, the blueberries, that's the quantity. So we're saying when the price of strawberries go up, we decide we want buying the strawberries. We also decide we want buying the blueberries either. Now, this could very well be a principal issue. All right. We went into Solomon's and we were perfectly happy looking for fruits, not Bahamian fruits. Now we're looking for kind of fruits that we don't normally grow in the Bahamas. And Solomon's annoy us to the nth degree because they raised the price of strawberries so much we decided we weren't getting the strawberries. And then we suck our teeth and say, you know what? We ain't buying none of these at all. Right. But look at the two answers. Let me copy this. Copy this. And let's go up. And let's paste it here. Look at the two elasticities, the two cross price elasticities. The fact that our cross price elasticity of strawberries to blueberries is so big, it says that we are very, 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 very sensitive to change in price of blueberries and how it affects our decision about strawberries. In fact, this is saying that any small change in the price of blueberries is going to have a massive impact on our decision on whether to buy strawberries or not. So this is absolutely positively certain, no chance whatsoever if we see the price of blueberries going up and we ain't gonna get blueberries, we're not going to get strawberries. On the other hand, if look at the elasticity, the cross price elasticity of blueberry to strawberries, it is definitely negative, so they're definitely complements, but you're nowhere near as sensitive because your elasticity is nowhere near as big. So yeah, if there is price of strawberries, in all likelihood, you're not going to buy blueberries either, but you are a lot less emphatic about your decision compared to the other way around. Right? The larger the elasticity, the more we're saying we are sensitive or responsive to a change in the price. And we have elasticity at all the way to 5. All right, that says we are enormously sensitive to when they raise the price of blueberries. We said, for sure, if I can't get blueberries, I'm not getting the strawberries. End of story, full stop. I'm not even having this conversation. That's what that says. Okay, question is, can you do it again for your homework that I'm going to issue, if not tonight, first thing in the morning?
No. I
Yeah,
have a
we can do
question,
it.
please. I have a question, Mr. Demary. Could you go back to the previous equation you just worked?
The last one?
Yes, sir. This one right here.
This one. Mhm.
Okay. So I notice coming down from the equation 81 minus 87 divided by 87 plus 81 divided by 2. This divided by 2, are we not doing anything with this right here?
Did we divide by 2?
Yeah, that's how you get the
87 plus
84.
81. So you got 84.
Okay.
You add 87 plus 81, that gives you 168. And then you
Divided
take
by 2.
168 and you divide it by 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And you do the same thing for your denominator as well.
Okay.
Okay. So like I said, the hardest part of this is where, well, it's not really difficult. You want to make sure you don't make a mistake plugging stuff in and keeping track of any negative signs that may arise. All right, so this is going to be your first stab at this. So it may not be perfect the first time. So, you may not get 100% of your first homework. Yeah. But I assure you, once you have had to work these through 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 different times, which you'll probably see over the next couple of weeks, it's going to become highly routine, the level of concentration that you're going to need to put into these particular problems. All right? Okay. So we can let our brains cool off just a little bit. We go to more boring math issues. Let's go back to our class notes. And that concludes our discussion about elasticity. Remember what we're trying to do here. We are putting ourselves in the position of the firm, the companies, the businesses, the producers. And our first understanding of why we're spending so much time on elasticity is that we want to understand what's going through our customers' minds, because that's going to affect how we manage our business, because ultimately we're trying to get as much money as we can from these people, because that's going to increase our revenues and our profits to the maximum level that we can get. So that's what we're interested in. If we know what they want, how they're thinking, how they're making decisions, then we can adjust our policies to take advantage of that understanding. And the first thing we wanted to make sure we understand is that, customers have certain responsiveness, certain sensitivities to how we adjust our prices. Right? So we want to understand the kind of product we have, because that's going to affect, whether for us to make money, we need to lower our prices, or whether to make money, we can in fact raise our prices. Right? So that's what elasticity tells us when we're looking at it from the perspective of the firm. The second big issue that we're going to look at when we're talking about looking at our customers and how our customers make decisions, we want to talk about how our customers choose one product over another, one business over another. Right? So we're going to spend the next class or two talking about consumers' choice and consumers' preferences. So the first thing we want to talk about very quickly is that each customer has an individual demand curve for every individual product. And of course, this is all going on in the back of our customers' minds, but we're trying to formalize what we know is happening, even if it's happening on a subconscious level with our customers. Right? So an individual demand curve shows the relationship between the price of a good or service and the quantity that an individual customer is willing to buy. Right? So an individual demand curve, let's say, I don't know, for meat, from different cuts of meat, right? That will depend on the price of that cut and what's happening in that individual customer's personal life, in terms of finances or whatever other decision-making choices or variables that go into the decision about whether to buy this piece of meat or not. So each customer will have an individual demand curve for, I don't know, let's call it T-bone steak, for lack of a better word. Yeah, y'all need to feed that baby. What you can do is turn off your microphone, at least temporarily.
Sorry about that.
I know there's a reason why I don't have any kids. Okay, fine. So the market demand curve, the one that we are very familiar with, that we've done it a lot of certainly all of our macro days. The market demand curve shows the relationship between the price of a good or service and the quantity that all customers, all consumers are willing to buy. So we're no longer talking about the individual demand curve of this particular customer for my steak, and now looking at the demand for all of my customers for steak in my store. And the market demand curve is just simply, we add up all those individual demand curves, we put them together, and that gives us our market demand curve. And that's pretty much it. It's not more complicated than that. Now, some background. If you recall from your macro days, we talked about the rationality assumption. The rationality assumption says that we want the most for our money, the biggest bang for our buck. When it comes to decisions about goods and services that we want to consume, we're selfish. Right? We don't want to be giving away money. Right? Since that we are talking about ourselves from the foreign perspective, our customers don't want to be giving away money. Right? So once we understand that our customers are rational, right, then we know that the consumer, our customers, are going to purchase goods and services that give them the highest level of enjoyment or satisfaction for the money that they're going to spend. Right? And the opportunity cost, again, going back to our principle of free cost, what they're giving up to purchase a specific good is what else they could have used that money for. So the opportunity cost of the consumption choice is the happiness or enjoyment that could have been achieved if they had bought something else. So let's say, for example, you have a movie date. So COVID is over and you've gone back to that place on top of the hill. You want a small personal pizza, and that personal pizza is going to cost you or whomever happen to be a date $12. And I'm not arguing with whether our price is high or not. It's $12. If you don't want it, don't buy it. Pizza's $12. A hot dog is going to cost $4. So therefore, if you insist, listen, I really want that pizza, you are in fact saying that the enjoyment, the personal satisfaction, the pleasure you're going to get from consuming that pizza must exceed the enjoyment or happiness or satisfaction that you would have gotten from the 3 hot dogs combined. Because otherwise, you would have gotten 3 hot dogs. Right? The only thing is that the only way this makes sense in terms of, from a consumer's perspective, the most bang for my money, and as a rational consumer, the only reason why I would buy the pizza for $12 when I could have bought 3 hot dogs for $4 each is that the pizza at $12 is worth more to me than the 3 hot dogs at $4 each. Right? So that's what we're talking about. There are 2 effects to this decision that we want to just briefly touch on. All right? Still in the movie, I'm still talking about hot dogs and pizza. The first is called the substitution effect. Right? The substitution effect is the way our consumers' consumption changes when there's a change in the price of one of the goods. In this case, we're talking pizza and hot dogs. So let's say, well, it's never going to happen, but let's assume for a moment that there's a special to lure people back into the theater, and they drop their price of pizza to $10. So the opportunity cost, that is what you gave up, because remember now, previously, when the pizza was $12, you end up really giving up the possibility of purchasing 3 hot dogs in order for you to purchase this one smaller pizza. Right? So the opportunity cost for you of that one pizza was 3 hot dogs, because that's what you gave up. You could have spent that money on 3 hot dogs. So you gave up the opportunity cost of consuming that one pizza was the 3 hot dogs that you chose not to purchase. But if the pizza price now falls to $10, right, you spend your $10 on pizza, but you have not given up the possibility of purchasing 3 hot dogs anymore. Right? You gave up the possibility of only purchasing 2.5 hot dogs because that's going to equal to $10. Right? If that's the case, right, you're more likely to substitute some pizza for some hot dogs and consume more pizzas and less hot dogs. Okay, think about this. You were planning on spending $12 for pizza because you know that was what they were charging for pizza. That's what they charged you outside. Right? So you had every intention of spending $12 or your money or somebody else's money for pizza. Right? And you were perfectly happy to turn up your nose at 3 whole hot dogs because you really want this pizza. But now, come to find out, the pizza is only $10. So you can still have your pizza, and in fact, you can have more pizza for your $12. Right? Technically speaking, and clearly, they're not going to sell you half a slice of pizza to make it for the extra $2. But technically speaking, you can have more pizza because your $12 will buy you not only the $10 pizza, plus a little bit more if they were trying to sell a little bit more. Right? And since we already know you prefer pizza to hot dogs, you can end up buying more pizza and less hot dogs. That's the substitution effect. Yeah. If the price goes down, well, I can buy more. Right. The income effect is similar but different. The income effect says if the price of pizza went down, in essence, my money, my $12 can now buy more. Because previously, my $12 could only buy one pizza. Now, my $12 could buy one pizza and I still got change. So clearly, my money now can go a little bit further. Right. So then the question now is, what do I spend my extra $2 on? If I could get an extra slice of pizza for that $2, I would have gotten that. Or you know what? I could use that $2 and borrow another $1 and get a hot dog. Right. So it's possible. I feel wealthier. I feel like my income gone up because I have enough money to get the pizza, plus I got money left over. In fact, I could put that back in my purse. Yeah, and at the end of the day, when the movie over, I got $2 more in my purse I didn't have before. I wasn't planning on having. So I feel like my income has gone up. Right. So what we always focusing our attention on here is that from a rational consumer perspective, right, they're going to base their decision making on the price of the product and how the price of that product may change. Okay. I've talked the last 10 minutes about enjoyment and satisfaction and pleasure from consuming a certain amount of good and or service. The problem is, those are feelings, touchy-feely, how do you measure enjoyment? How do you measure satisfaction? How do you measure happiness? Right? We're economists or budding economists, so we deal with numbers. Hardcore, how do we go about doing that? In fact, well, what do? We create a measurement for happiness. We create a measurement for enjoyment, for satisfaction, for pleasure. And we call that measurement a util, U-T-I-L. All right? Because, and we've defined util, if we said utility, in a generic form, utility is the benefit or enjoyment or satisfaction derived from consuming a good, we can measure utility in terms of this makeup thing that we call utils. Right? So if one util is a measure of satisfaction, then two utils means that you're more satisfied or more or enjoy the product more than if you only give it a one util. If you give it a three util, you enjoy it even more. Right? So we created this thing to try and measure in a practical term satisfaction or enjoyment or benefit from the consumption of a good or service. Right? So utility is the benefit or enjoyment or satisfaction we get from consuming a good. And we measure that in terms of utils. Right? In that case, then, our total utility or our total amount of satisfaction or our total enjoyment is the total amount of utility that we get from consuming a particular good. Right? So total utility is the total amount of enjoyment we get from consuming a particular good. So let's say, for example, bag of potato chips, or corn chips, or whatever chips that, does it for you, right? You know, the first time you put your hand in that bag, you get a certain amount of enjoyment because you're anticipating, okay, you don't gonna say, you've been drooling, but we know what's going on, right? And you eat and you eat and you eat. So in that case, the total utility would be if we were able to measure your enjoyment from each individual chip you put in your mouth, your total utility would be when we add up all that total enjoyment you got from each of those individual chips. And we put that in together and we said, okay, this is your total enjoyment from that bag of chips. That's what we're talking about. All right. Or if you're saying, before the COVID days, you go on a shopping trip. You go out, you go away, you drag someone behind you to lift and tote your bag, and you go on your shopping trip. Right? There's a certain amount of enjoyment, certain amount of satisfaction you get from each one of your individual purchases. Right? But your total utility, your total enjoyment, your total satisfaction would be if it was possible for us to add up all the enjoyment you got from each of your individual purchases and add them together and says, okay, this was her total enjoyment, her total utility from her entire shopping trip. Right? That's what we're talking about. Right? So the total utility is the total amount of utility derived from all of an individual consumption of a particular good. Then we have what is called marginal utility. So if your total utility is your total enjoyment, your total satisfaction, the marginal utility is that extra enjoyment, that extra satisfaction, that additional utility you derive from consuming one more unit of the good. Right? If that total bag of potato chips gave you a total utility, a total satisfaction of 100, the marginal utility would be what you got from one extra chip. And that may be 2, that may be 3. But when we add them all together, we end up to 100. So marginal utility is the additional utility or additional enjoyment you got from consuming one more unit of the good. And the way we calculate marginal utility is we look at how our total utility change when our total quantity of consumption of that good change. Right. So let's say, back to our shopping trip example. All right. You start off your shopping trip and you purchase a pair of shoes. And let's say that pair of shoes gave you a satisfaction of 20. All right. So your satisfaction around one pair of shoes is 20, and your satisfaction from your total shopping trip so far is still 20 because you only bought the one pair of shoes. Right. So now, let's say you add a handbag to that pair of shoes, and that bag gave you a satisfaction of 30. All right. Then the marginal utility, so you got 20 from your shoes and 30 from the bag, which means your total satisfaction for your shopping trip so far is 50 units of satisfaction, 50 utils. Right? If your total utility is 50 utils, your marginal utility would be your total utility, which was 20 when you got the shoes. And now your total utility is now 50. So your marginal utility would be that extra that you added on when you got the bag. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, now's the time to speak up. So then we have what is called diminishing marginal utility. Now this is interesting because diminishing marginal utility is like that as the consumption of a good or service increases, so as you continue to shop or as you continue to dig your hand into that bag of chips, your total enjoyment, its total satisfaction goes up, but it goes up at a decreasing rate. Right. And this is called the principle of diminishing marginal utilities, and this comes from the principle of diminishing returns that we will have covered way back in our macro days. Right? Think about this now. This says, okay, let's stick with our shopping trip, for example. All right. The kind of enjoyment, kind of satisfaction you got when you walk into that first store. I don't know, let's say, I don't know, call it 9 West, whatever it is, or New York and Co. All right, whatever the store is. Yeah, you get to the door. Yeah, the door slide open. You take a deep breath, and you get that shoe store smell in your nose. Yeah, don't worry, honey. You sit out here. I can get to it when I'm done. All right. You're never going to get quite that enjoyment from the next store or the store after that, or the store after that. Right. So all we're saying is that as your shopping trip continues, each individual purchase gives you less and less satisfaction. It may be that now you need to carry tote-bound bags. It now means now you need to start watching your dollars. It may mean that now your feet start to hurt because sawgrass milk is a long ass mall. It may be that all of a sudden now your belly starts growling. But the kind of enjoyment you got from that first store, you're not getting as you go into subsequent stores. Similarly, with your bag of chips, that first chip is good. I mean, that first chip is really good. Yeah. Subsequent chips, now you're thinking, this is going to go to my hips. Right? Then you start feeling guilty, and then you start getting a little thirsty, starting to find something to drink. And then, I can't believe I ate that whole bag. And your enjoyment becomes less and less. Now, you still enjoy every chip, mind you, just like you still enjoy every time you go into a store and purchase an item. So the diminishing marginal utility says that as you continue, your total utility still goes up. So you still get some pleasure from each purchase, but each purchase gives you less and less of a buzz. Right? Your total enjoyment goes up, but your enjoyment for each subsequent purchase is not quite the same. Right? That's the diminishing marginal utility. Right? We also see this back in the good old days when I used to go to ROI Key, long time ago, long time ago. Hey, young boy. Friday afternoon, Friday evening, before I got married, for wife and girlfriend, when you're chasing skirt. Okay, y'all hear all that. Anyway, you leave work Friday, all right, and you hit the key. All right. And it's usually hot out there. And that first beer, that very first ice cold crisp, I mean, that tastes good. Yeah, it not only quenches your thirst, it sets you up for the rest of the evening. That's very first beer. Ain't nothing as good as the first one. I tell you, our first beer good. Okay. The second beer good too, mind you. Don't sleep on the second beer. The second beer good too. It ain't quite as good as the first one, mind you. It ain't quite as good as the first, but it's good. All right. The third beer, it's beer, so it got some goodness to it. Yeah. But your thirst has already been slaked. Yeah. That second beer wind you up nice. Third beer now, if you're like me, you get a little lightheaded, your head starts to swing a little bit. Yeah. And all of a sudden now, people who used to turn up your nose at now, they start looking a little good. Now you're looking to get yourself in trouble. Right? Each beer adds some degree of pleasure to you, so your total amount of pleasure, your total utility is going up, but each subsequent beer is providing you less and less enjoyment. Right? So there's what we call diminishing marginal utility. Right? Total utility goes up, but at a decreasing rate. And then we have what's called the utility maximizing rule. The utility maximizing rule says when we start looking at what we're going to choose to consume, all right, a consumer will maximize his or her enjoyment, his or her pleasure, his or her bang for his buck by choosing the affordable consumption of goods that makes marginal utility per dollar spent on one good equal to that of a second good. Right? So you're trying to decide on a basket of goods, and you're trying to choose among those goods. You're going to choose such that your marginal utility, the money you spend, relative to how much pleasure you're going to get, is going to be equal to each good. Right. Let's look at an example, and maybe that will become a bit more clear. All right. So hopefully you can see a table. And here we have three products: apples, oranges, and bananas. All right. And Q is the quantity of each item. MU is the marginal utility, so the satisfaction or pleasure we get from consuming one more unit of the good. And we see the marginal utility per dollar spent is MU divided by P. Right. So if you look at apples for a moment, we said when we buy and consume that first apple, we get 10 units of satisfaction from that apple. And that apple is going to cost us $1. So if we divide this amount of satisfaction by the amount that we spend, all right, so that's the amount of satisfaction per dollar spent. We spend $1, we got 10 units of satisfaction. Therefore, the satisfaction per dollar spent is 10. Now, that second apple, this is not two apples now. This is the next apple that we purchase and consume. We didn't get quite as much enjoyment from it. But we still got some. We got 8. All right. We got 8 units of enjoyment from that second apple. Not quite as much as the first apple, but it was still good. All right. Again, that apple cost us $1. So our satisfaction for our dollar spent is 8, our marginal utility divided by the price. And we go down the line. And if you notice, each time we buy and consume an additional apple, we get less and less enjoyment from each additional apple. Until by the time we get to that 10th apple, we get a measly 0.5 marginal utility or satisfaction or enjoyment. We barely get any enjoyment from that apple. Then we look at oranges. Oranges cost twice as much as apples. Oranges cost $2. All right. But we get, if you notice, from that first orange, we get 24 units of satisfaction. If you're asking me where I get that from, the marginal utility, I just got it out of the back of my head. All right. But we're saying, and we're assuming that for that first orange, you got 24 units of satisfaction. I guess you really like oranges. All right, more than apples, because that first apple only gave you 10 units. The first orange gave you 24 units of satisfaction. All right. But the orange costs $2 each. So when you're trying to calculate the amount of satisfaction per dollar spent, you take your total satisfaction and you divide that by how much you spend for that orange. So that's 24 divided by my $2, and we end up with spending $12 per unit of satisfaction. All right. So Tim said, okay, that second orange, I still like oranges. I like oranges a lot now to get, and that second orange gave me 20 units of satisfaction. Not quite as much as the first orange, obviously. Right. But that second orange also cost me $2. So my enjoyment per dollar spent went from 12 to 10 because I got less enjoyment from that second orange, but I still paid the same price for that second orange. Similarly, for the third orange, I got less satisfaction. So therefore, my satisfaction or my enjoyment per dollar spent went down as well, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Now let's look at bananas. Bananas fall somewhere in between. We like bananas, look at more than we like apples, but not quite as much as we like oranges. And bananas are $1.50 each. So that first banana, we liked it a lot. We got 18 units of satisfaction or enjoyment from that banana. That banana cost us $1.50. So our enjoyment per dollar spent is 12. That's just 18 divided by $1.50. That comes out to 12. If you have any doubt, please check my math, use your calculator. That second banana, obviously not as much enjoyment as that first banana, because that's the way these things go. It still cost me $1.50. But I found out that my enjoyment per dollar spent also went down because I spent the same amount, but I got less enjoyment, less satisfaction from that second banana. Similarly for the third and the fourth banana. Each time I buy and consume an additional banana, I got less satisfaction for it. But since it's costing me the same amount each time,
Mr. Meredith, your mic is muted.
Mr. Meredith, Mike.
It's mute.
sorry, folks. Let's try that again. For some reason, I got kicked out. Let's see, so you can see me. All right. Can everybody hear me again? Hello?
Yes, sir, I can.
Someone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, good. My apologies. I don't know what happened. Yeah, I hope people didn't take the opportunity to vanish. Okay, so in terms of, so now we're trying to decide if you're a consumer, how many apples, oranges, or bananas you would choose to purchase. So what you're looking at then is that if you look at the amount of satisfaction you're going to get for the money that you're going to spend, if you would notice, the consumer can get 8 units for every dollar it's spent if it purchases 2 apples, and it can get $8 for every 8 units of satisfaction every dollar it's spent if it purchases 4 oranges, because it really likes oranges, and it can get 8 units of satisfaction for every dollar it's spent if it purchases and consumes 3 bananas. So at this stage, the consumer is absolutely indifferent about whether they're going to get 2 apples, 4 oranges, or 3 bananas, because any one of those options are going to give them the same amount of money for every dollar that they're going to spend, the same amount of satisfaction, sorry, for every dollar that they spend. So when we're trying to understand from the front perspective how a consumer is going to decide to choose one way or the other, right, we now know that our customers, or at least this particular customer, right, is equally happy with 2 apples, 4 oranges, or 3 bananas. So that's going to give us some indication in terms of how much of each of these items we're willing to stock, knowing the customer's specific preference. Now, let's take that one step further. All right. So we know that our customers are rational. So they're looking to maximize their satisfaction for every dollar that they're going to spend. All right. So let's assume that there is a little cafe near your place, wherever you live. All right. I happen to live out west, so I know there's this one on the Cable Beach Strip, pretty much across the road from the coffee place, Starbucks. Right. So let's say you have a local cafe, and the price of a pizza, slice of a pizza, is $3, not the whole pizza, just the one slice. Right. And they sell their beer. They don't give you the bottle; they pour it out for you, and the beer is $6. So pizza $3, beer $6. And let's say on a given evening, you got $30 to play with. The question that we're trying to solve is that how many slices of pizza and how many bottles of beer are you likely to consume that evening? All right. And what we have on the table to the right is we have a table of pizza price of $3, beer's price is $6, and quantities of pizza and beer. All right. And we find that the marginal utility of that first slice of pizza is $60. The extra satisfaction if you consume a second price of pizza, it's not good as much as the first slice of pizza. So you don't get quite as much enjoyment from that second slice or any subsequent slice. So every extra slice of pizza that you purchase and consume, you get less and less enjoyment from it. And if you notice, your marginal satisfaction per slice of pizza also changes. All right. So similarly for beer, that first beer, you get really a lot of pleasure from that first beer. All right. But you get less and less of each subsequent beer that you swill. So then, the question is, how many slices of pizza, how many slices of beers, and just as importantly, which order are you going to purchase and consume them? Right. This is the kind of question you will certainly get on your homework, and absolutely you're going to get on the exam. All right. You'll get a table, and you decide in which order you're going to consume these items. So how do we go about doing that? Well, initially, you said you have a choice between a slice of pizza or beer. Right. We will choose to consume the product that gives us the highest marginal utility or the greatest enjoyment or the greatest satisfaction. So in that case, we have to look at the table and look at our margin utility. Right. And if you look at your margin utility column, you will see that if you were to get a slice of pizza, you're going to get 60 units of satisfaction, margin utility of 60 for that slice of pizza. But if you were to purchase a beer and drink that, that first beer is going to give you 70 units of satisfaction, or 70 units of enjoyment, or 70 utils. So your margin utility, if you consume that first slice of pizza is 60, but the margin utility, if you consume that first beer, is 70. So the question is, do you buy a pizza and get 60 units of satisfaction, or do you buy a beer and get 70 units of satisfaction?
I buy
Well,
2 bears.
No, where you get 2 bears from? The first thing, we would first buy a bear, all right? Because the bear is going to give you 70 units of satisfaction compared to a slice of pizza, all right? So you got $30 in your pocket, you buy a bear. A bear costs $6. So that's my first purchase. You see, we included a new table on the right. I purchased 1 bear, that's why I put the B there. My first purchase of a bear cost me $6. I'm left with $24. So we are left with $24 out of our original budget. Now we still have to make a choice now, because we still got $24 to spend tonight. Do we get the second bear? Like, I don't know who that was, but somebody who really liked bears is proposing. Is our next purchase a bear? Because now, if you look at our margin utility column for bears, our second bear is only going to give us 54 units of satisfaction. I mean, that's still nice. So our second bear is going to give us 54 units of satisfaction. Or if we were to get our first slice of pizza, because remember, we haven't had any pizzas yet. We spent our first $6 on beer, because, you know, that's our priorities. Our first slice of pizza is going to give us 60 units of satisfaction. So do I get 54 units of satisfaction for my second beer, or do I go with 60 units of satisfaction for my first slice of pizza?
Go with
Okay,
the
I changed my
second bear.
mind. I'll go with the
Second
pizza.
bear.
No, the
I go
pizza
with-
give you
Why?
60. The pizza give you 60 satisfaction, and the bear only give you 54.
Exactly.
Oh,
We
yeah,
always
that's
going to
right.
go with the one that gives us the highest
the highest.
satisfaction.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So then, our choice would be to consume our first slice of pizza at $3 because it provides us with more satisfaction than the second bottle of beer. All right. So here we have it. Our next choice would be a slice of pizza. Now that we spend the $3 in pizza, we are left with $21 out of our original budget.
You put up all
So we've had
answers.
one slice of pizza. So, did I? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. No, we're not. That's not all the answers. We have a lot of money to spend. So we're left with $21 on our original budget, and our choice is: do we consume a second beer, which gives us 54, or second slice of pizza, which only gives us 50? So clearly, we go with the 54. We go with the beer. All right. We spend the $6 on the beer, and now we're left with $15. We're left with $15 of our original budget, and now we have to choose between consuming a third beer, which will give us 45 units of satisfaction, or a second pizza, which will give us 50 units of satisfaction.
Pizza.
We go with pizza because pizza is going to give us more than a beer. Right. There we go. We have a pizza. Okay. Now, here's the problem. We're left with $12. Right. And we have to choose between our third beer, which is going to give us 45 units of satisfaction, or our third slice of pizza, which also going to give us 45 units of satisfaction. So we're going to be perfectly happy. All right. Third beer or third pizza. Don't make a difference to us. It's going to give us equally satisfied with each one. Why would you choose the bear? I'm curious.
Because it has the 18 MP/U.
That doesn't matter.
No?
All that says is that that's our utility for every dollar spent. All right.
Okay.
No, we're our aim here in our going out on a Friday night is we're looking to enjoy ourselves. All right. We're looking to get the most satisfaction, the most enjoyment from our evening out. All right. That means whether I'm drinking a beer or pizza, I am interested in getting the maximum enjoyment from this activity. So that, all right. And this becomes particularly interesting. Let's say, I don't know, you're a young lady, yeah, reasonably attractive, yeah. So you have guys looking to buy you drinks because, I don't know, because, all right. Or they say, oh, sweetie, you don't want to drink with me, buy a slice of pizza. Whatever's going to get me to talk to you or get you to talk to me so I can, take my shot, not work. All right. There's not going to be any worry about margin utility per dollar. You just worry about, okay, how do I maximize my satisfaction? But you have a problem here because right now you are indifferent between pizza and bear, because when you get your third bear, your third slice of pizza, they're going to give you the same amount of satisfaction. But the problem is, the bear is going to cost you $6 for that satisfaction, whereas the pizza is only going to cost you $3 for that amount of satisfaction. We would consume that third slice of pizza because it is cheaper. If you can get enjoyment, the same amount of enjoyment for $3 as you would get for $6, why would you choose a $6 item? Think of it this way, right? Let's say you happen to come across a fake brand name handbag. You know it's fake, all right? It's definitely fake, but it's a good fake. It's a good fake. It's kind of fake that unless you're an expert, people ain't gonna recognize it's a fake, all right? But that fake is a tenth of the price of the real thing. You can pay full price for the real thing when you can pay 1/10 of the price for the fake that's going to give you same amount of looks, same amount of conversation, same amount of enjoyment? No, because that wouldn't make any sense, especially if it's a good fake. Right? Equal amount of enjoyment for a whole lot less money. And that's the rationale here. And that's why we say our consumers are rational. All right. You as a rational consumer, you're looking to maximize your enjoyment for every dollar that you're going to spend. All right. So we would choose to consume our third slice of pizza at $3 because even though we get equal satisfaction from both, we go with a cheaper item when the utility is the same. All right. Okay. So we decided we're going to go with the pizza because the pizza is cheaper. So now we have consumed 2 slices of 2 beers and 2 slices of pizza in the order bear pizza, bear pizza. Now we're left with $9. What are we going to spend our $9 on? We have to choose between our third beer, remember the one that we passed up, that will give us 45 units of satisfaction, or our 4th slice of pizza is only giving us 36. So clearly, we're going to go with the beer. So we spend $6 on the beer, and now we're left with $3. What do you do with the $3?
Buy the
Again,
pizza.
we're choosing between spending our money on beer or spending our money on
Yeah.
pizza. But if you look at the marginal utility, all right, if you look at the marginal utility, because now we're choosing between our fourth beer and our fourth slice of pizza. Our fourth beer would give us 42 units of satisfaction. Our fourth pizza only would give us 36. So we really would prefer the beer, because the beer would give us more enjoyment. But we only got $3. So clearly we would prefer to consume another beer. However, with $3 in our budget, this would not be possible. So despite the fact that we would want another beer, we're going to spend our $3 on pizza and take our 36 units of satisfaction and call it a night. Right. I know there are persons thinking, well, why don't I just save that $3? Because I really wanted a beer, not a pizza. But here's the thing. You're still going to get 36 units of satisfaction from eating that pizza. Keeping that last $3 in your wallet gives you 0 units of satisfaction because you're not consuming anything. All right. So if it is possible, we will always spend our entire budget as long as we can get some positive marginal utility from spending that money. As long as we can get some enjoyment from spending that money, I'll spend the damn money. All right. So you will get an example, a problem like this, and you will be asked to take your time, go through it at each step, saying, okay, where am I going to get the most satisfaction, the most enjoyment, the highest marginal utility? And that's going to determine where my choice is going to be. All right. Because we're taking the perspective of a rational consumer. And we're not talking about taking the perspective of somebody who's a freak for pizza. And we're not taking the perspective of a drunkard. A rational consumer who is looking to maximize their enjoyment. All right. And in the case where we get equal amount of satisfaction from 2 different products, we will always go with the one that costs us less. Right? Because that's what the rational consumer would do. Right? Because it makes no sense for me to spend more money for something where I can get the same amount of enjoyment from a different activity. Okay. Questions before we move on? All right. I do want to warn you, we may end just a little bit early today. I do have an errand I do have to run, but we'll see. Maybe. We'll see.
Mr. Demaret. So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
noticed this, like you said, is going to be on the exam. Will you think you'll be able to go over this with us again? Because this is a lot to consume.
I'm going to give you homework, and of course you have your class notes, and you have your workbook. But yes, generally speaking, when we go through the homework, we tend to get into discussion about a particular question and how we should approach it going forward, whether we see it again in another homework or whether we see it again in an exam period. An exam section.
Okay. Do you think you could send those slides to us, please? I mean, to me, because I don't have the workbook.
Why don't you have the workbook? Isn't it don't you spend your money and you go to workbook too? I thought that was just part of,
I mean, I don't think Miss Dean is supposed to have it for me, but I didn't catch up with us yet.
All right. In any case, fine. I'll send the slides to everybody. That's not a problem. If you got the first set of slides, these will be the second set of slides. Or I might just send the full. See, the problem is that I don't want to try and send the whole thing. I don't want to try and send the whole thing because it gets very large because each class I keep adding more and more slides. But anyway, We'll see what happens. I will send this set and we'll go from there. Okay. Let's talk about consumer. We're still talking about consumers and the choices that they make and why they make the choices that they make. Right? And one of the things that we do want to touch on is what is called consumer surplus. Consumer surplus really is the difference between the maximum amount that a consumer would be willing to pay and what they actually have to pay. All we're saying is, let's say you have a certain amount you were expecting to pay for a dress. All right. I don't know where you got that price from in the back of your head, Facebook, friend, whomever, wherever you were planning on spending $150 on this dress because you got a wedding coming up. All right. You walk into the 17 shop and you find the dress that you were looking for, but they have it listed for $80. All right. You are in essence have saved yourself $70 because you were prepared to spend $150. You prepared to spend $150, only end up having to spend $80. So clearly you come out ahead. All right. That coming out ahead is what we call consumer surplus. The consumer surplus is the difference between what you were prepared to pay and what you actually had to pay. So a consumer surplus is the difference between the maximum amount that a consumer is willing to pay for a good or service and the market price of that good or service. Right? So in a competitive market, consumers and producers buy and sell at the market clearing price. That should be at the market clearing price. Okay, I don't know what happened to my feed. Oops, I went too far. So anyway, I'll fix it eventually. However, so let's start again. In a competitive market, consumers and producers buy and sell at the market clearing price. Right? That's the piece that we're all familiar with. However, some customers with longer dollars may be willing and able to pay more for good or service than they actually have to. Right? You got money in your wallet. Right? You're ready, willing, and able to pay, but come to find out you don't have to pay as much as you thought. So that is what a customer actually paid for a unit of a good may be less than the amount they may be willing to pay. This savings is the consumer surplus for that individual. So we start off with, you're the one who ends up saving $70 on this dress. You're prepared to spend $150, you only had to spend $80. So you end up saving $70. So that's your consumer surplus for you. Now, when we're trying to look at the consumer surplus for the entire market, we add up all the consumer surplus for each individual in your position. Right? So you're prepared to spend $150 for this dress and only cost $80. There are some people who are prepared to spend $125 for this dress, but only had to spend $80. There are some people who were prepared to spend $100 for this dress, but only had to spend $80. There's some people who were prepared to spend $90 for this dress, but only had to spend $80. There's some people who were prepared to spend $85 for this dress, but only had to spend $80. And each of those persons end up saving that money that they didn't have to spend. So consumer surplus for the whole market is the sum of all of those individual consumer surpluses for those consumers who have purchased a good. For everyone who actually spent $80 when they were prepared to spend more. When we add them all together, that is what constitutes the total consumer surplus for the market as a whole. So how do we go about calculating this? So let's say, for example, out of all customers interested in purchasing a specific item, the item has a market price of $10. That item is priced at $10, but John had $40 in his wallet, and he had allocated $40 to pay for this item, but he was prepared to pay $40. Right. That's not right. He was prepared to, let me make this correction, because I'm going to send this to you. $50. And delete, delete. $50, delete, delete. All right, so let's see. Yes, okay. Back to our story. John is willing to pay $50. So if you look at your diagram at the very top of that column A, you see that's what John is willing to pay. Right? Nobody's willing to pay more than John.
Wouldn't that second 50 be 40? In this case, the consumer surplus for John for this item would be $40, not 50.
Oh, that's where I made my mistake. Yes, you're quite right. I will give you 2 extra points on your 6th homework.
Wow, Mr. Demerit, if we make it to 6 homeworks.
Well, yeah, if we make it to 6 homework. Who knows? I mean, I think the future.
Can I cash my 2 points and
Anyhow.
everything?
No. Excuse me. Anyhow, in this case, the consumer surplus for John for that item is $40. Or the difference between what he would have been willing to pay and how much he actually had to pay. He was willing to pay 50, he only had to pay 10. His consumer surplus is 40. So, because it was 40 for that 1 unit purchase because he only purchased the 1 unit. So he saved $40 on that unit. Easy enough? Easy enough. But if you want to try the graph, also shows that at $10, that was the market price of this item. At $10, the store was able to sell 75 units of this item. So if we're trying to calculate the market surplus for everybody who purchased this item, not just John, we would add up everybody who was willing to spend more than $10 for this $10 item. And that works out, if you're looking at the graph, at that entire area under that demand curve. So that'll be A plus B. A is John, B is everybody else. So when you add them all together, you have John plus everybody. Now, before I do the calculation, I throw it out there that I think that's going to be 1520. Well, I worked it out ahead of time and stuck it in there. Right? And how do I get the 1520? Well, first we calculate the area of the shaded rectangle. That's John's surplus. And you remember all the way back from the high school days, the area of a rectangle is length times breadth. The length is 40 because it's 50 minus 10. That's how I got to 40. And it's 1 item. So it went from 0 to 1. That's all. That's how we got John's consumer surplus, technically speaking. But for everybody else, All right, folks. Let's see if we can get through at least the next half hour before they kick me off one last time. Sharing. I'm trying to share my screen. Okay. So we're saying total consumer surplus is the area that we've designated A, which is John's surplus, plus the area B, which is everyone else. All right. So we need to calculate our total area, A plus B, and that's going to give us our total consumer surplus. So we calculated John's, which we said is 40. The area of a triangle, if you recall from your high school days, is half the base times the height. And the base is from, because John has the 1. So everyone else, we said the total sales of this product was 75 units, right? We already know that John purchased 1, so everyone else had to purchase 74. So the base of our triangle, if you look, it goes from 1 to 75, so the base of our triangle is 74. The height of our triangle goes from 10 to 50, which is 40. So we end up at half of 74 times 40. And you can double check my math, but I think that works out to about 1,480. So then our total consumer surplus, so we have both John plus everyone else, is John's 40 plus everyone else 1,480, gives us a total consumer surplus of 1,520. All right. I certainly encourage you to double check my math. So when we talk about consumer surplus, we looked at John and we looked at everyone else's. What can affect consumer surplus will be if our market price of this product changes. Clearly, you can see if the price rises above $10, so if the price moves up, then both that area that we have A would be smaller, that's John's surplus will be smaller, and the triangle will also be smaller. So the surplus, consumer surplus for everyone else will also be smaller. So if the price rises, total consumer surplus would go down. But that would make sense then, because let's say the price went up to $20. John was still prepared to pay $50, but now he only has to pay $20. But instead of saving $40, he only ended up saving $30. And the same logic would apply to everyone else. So if the market price goes up, consumer surplus goes down. If the market price falls, consumer surplus would go up. And the other side of it is the producer surplus. The producer surplus is the difference between the amount that a producer or a firm was willing to accept for a product and the price that is actually able to sell that product at. So in our example, you have a company, whatever this product is, they were willing to accept $10 for it. But, you know, heaven forbid, God bless them, the heavens open up, whatever, all right, the market price for this product is $100. So it may be that they got this product when they imported it, when they bought it from the distributor, they got it dirt cheap, right? And then when they found it and they put it on the market, they see that consumers were willing to pay $100 for it. Right? So the producer surplus is the difference between the minimum amount that the firm is willing to accept for a good or service and the market price of that good or service. Right? Some producers or firms may be willing and able to accept less for the good or service than they actually have to. Right? That is, what a producer or firm accepts for a unit or good may be more than the amount that they may be willing to accept. So that's what they say. Right? I was prepared to sell this at $10, but now I don't have to. I can actually get away with selling this for $100. So that means I make money. I save. And that is what we're calling producer surplus. Right? I would have been happy getting $10 for it, but I have people who are willing to pay $100 for it. So in essence, I make an extra $90. So producer surplus for the whole market is not just to produce a surplus for one company, but to produce a surplus for all the companies put together. And the way we calculate that is the same way we calculate our consumer surplus. So let's say, for an example, out of all companies interested in supplying a certain item to the market price of that item is $100. ABC Limited is willing and able to sell that item for $10 because, you know, I have my overseas suppliers who gave me a really, really good deal on this. And, you know, I can sell it for $10 and still make money. But I don't have to. I actually can sell it for $100. But in this case, the producer, ABC, his surplus for that item is $90. He was willing to accept 10, doesn't have to accept 10, because the market price is 100, he walks away with an additional $90. The way we calculate that $90 is that we calculate the area of that rectangle that we have designated A. Okay? He sells one unit for $100, even though he was prepared to sell it for $10. The difference, he pockets $90. But if we're trying to calculate the total producer surplus, right, so what we found is at a price of $100, all the firms in the market who are prepared to make this product available to the market, they're prepared to supply the market with 1,001 of these items. So now let's try and calculate a producer surplus, not just for ABC, but for all producers willing to accept between $10 and $100 for this item. Now I'm saying it works out to be $40,090, but let's see how I got that. First of all, when we calculate the area for ABC, length times breadth,